From the emblems to the writings to the very paper it's on, join me as we explore 10 mind-blowing secrets in US dollars. 10. The intent of Latin. You would think that every detail that was put into something as important as the United States dollar would be checked and rechecked and laid out so that there couldn't be any misinterpretation. And you would be right. And that's one of the biggest reasons why there is a ton of Latin in the US dollar. While Latin today is considered a dead language, its remnants are all around us. And while it may be dead now, it certainly wasn't dead when the United States was being born and the first dollars were being made. Back then, Latin was kind of a regal language, and even the founding fathers like George Washington and Alexander Hamilton knew that when it came to speech, people wanted to feel smarter by the words they were saying, a stark contrast to the language of our world right now. I'm just saying. And so putting it on the US dollar helped make it feel more official, more dignified, and special. But more than that, the use of Latin was to help separate the United States and set a higher standard. After all, when the colonies revolted against the Crown and England, they did it so that they could be their own nation. They were the first republic in some time in the world, and the use of Latin was meant to help convey that to the people, to the world, and beyond. And the use of Latin was also a tribute to the past republics, such as the Greek and Roman republics. The Romans were a republic before they became an empire. Number 9. What's missing in the $5 bill? One of the biggest things that people talk about in the world today are conspiracy theories. You could even point to how there are various shows on the Discovery Channel, History Channel, and more that break down these conspiracy theories and point to whether they are actually credible or they are just the works of the minds of mad men and women. And yes, when it comes to the currency of the United States, many people look to these bills and see all kinds of things that prove that there are indeed conspiracies going on with them. One of the biggest of which is with the $5 bill. If you look at the back of the $5 bill, you're going to see a rather gorgeous picture of the Lincoln Memorial, which is fair because the beloved president was the literal face of the $5 bill. Anyway, if you look at the top part of the monument, you'll notice that there are 26 states listed in the stone. But as people have noted for many years, if this was an accurate depiction, there should be 48 states based on when it was made. Alaska and Hawaii came after the memorial was built. So why is there only 26 when there should be 48? Clearly, this is a sign of something bigger and more, right? Well, no, because the picture of the memorial is 100% accurate in the depiction of the states on the stone. The other 22 states are on the side of the monument and thus couldn't be shown on the $5 bill. So A for effort, conspiracy theorists, but not quite enough to prove a secret meaning on this particular bill. Good luck with your next search, but for the rest of us, there are plenty of other facts to look at. 8. Critters. We're heading back to the $1 bill for this one, and to be fair, this is another conspiracy theory of sorts. But unlike the one with the $5 bill, this one isn't so easy to shoot down with various facts because it's honestly hard to explain what is going on here. So here's what you need to do. Get out a $1 bill and then make sure you're looking at the front of the bill. Now, get a magnifying glass or other scope you may have lying around. I'm sure you'll find something that'll work. And put that scope right over the top right one on the front of the bill. If you look at the upper left-hand corner above the one, you'll see a crescent moon style cutout, and within that cutout is a critter. Now, depending on how you view things, you can see this critter as a bunch of things, and many people have speculated that it could be a plethora of various kinds of animals. But the one that many people consider the most likely and logical is that this is the shape of an owl. That is interesting for numerous reasons, but it doesn't explain why it might be hidden on the $1 bill. A common theory is that the owl is a representation of the Freemasons, a group that had a lot of power back in the earlier days of the United States and still exists to this day. The owl indeed is a symbol of this group, but why it was so secretly placed within the $1 bill is a bit of a curiosity. Though some have tried to play this off and say that it's just a symbol for wisdom, of which owls have been known to be the symbols of in the past. Number 7. Money makings. If I was to ask you what U.S. currency like the $1 bill, the $5, $10, and $20 bill was made out of, you would instinctively say, paper. I mean, it's literally referred to as paper money all over the world, and at one time was the most despised kind of currency, but that's another list. And yet, if you were to compare a dollar bill to an actual piece of paper, you're very likely to notice some things that don't add up, including how paper is known to break down over time just from basic wear and tear, whereas money seems to have a much longer lifespan and endurance to such acts. Well, there's a simple truth behind that. Your bills aren't made of paper. Oops. Believe it or not, it's a fusion of cotton and linen, about 75% to 25% in regards to proportions. This fusion allows the bills to last a lot longer. How much longer? Good question. In its current format, the average $1 bill can last for about 6 years if it's put under the basic wear and tear of human life. However, if it were made of regular paper, then it would last at most about 1 year before it would need to be destroyed. Destroyed, you asked? Yes. When bills become too ragged, they're sent back to the U.S. Mint to be destroyed and thus taken out of public circulation. Before we dive even deeper into this rabbit hole of mysteries and oddities, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That way, you don't miss any of our weekly videos. 6. Codes. I'm sure this is already setting off the alarms of conspiracy theorists out there, but sadly, this particular kind of code is not only basic and standard, it's easy to prove. If you look on the front of a bill, no matter its monetary value, you're going to see a stamp on it with the words Federal Reserve on it. This is the actual logo of the Federal Reserve where money is kept and ordered at times. But if you look from bill to bill, you'll notice something a bit odd. Mainly within the seal is a letter, and that letter keeps changing. And if you look at the number to the side of the letter, you'll notice that it keeps changing as well. What does this code mean? Quite simply, it shows you a point of origin. In this case, the origin of the bill in regards to which Federal Reserve ordered the bill to be made. There are 12 reserve banks across the U.S., and the letter-number combination tells you which bank your bill came from. For example, if you have a combination of A1, that bill came from Boston. If you have L12, that one came from San Francisco. You could make this quite the fun project and see if you get bills from all 12 banks. Number 5. 13. Numbers are obviously a big part of our currency. They not only tell us the monetary value and as just reveal where the bill was ordered from, but it can also give us clues as to whether the bill is real or not. And yet, there are also numbers strewn about the bills that don't seem to have a purpose and thus make it a curiosity for both conspiracy theorists and numerologists. However, there is one number that most everyone can agree upon in regards to its purpose, and that's that the number 13 can be found on these bills, and it was done so intentionally. But why? Isn't 13 an unlucky number? In our culture, it is considered that. But with the Founding Fathers, they had a more personal reason for liking the number 13. After all, there were 13 original colonies. And so, if you look across the bills, you'll see various references to 13, including the eagle seal that has 7 different ways of referencing the 13 colonies. Talk about dedication to the number. 4. Forgeries. One of the worst things that goes on in our world today is that of forgery, and few things are as forged as U.S. currency. After all, if you can pay with fake money, why wouldn't you, right? Well, the government knows this, and they have worked very hard over the years to ensure that they are able to fight these counterfeiters and that the people who handle these bills know what to look for. One of the biggest things that they do is have secret fibers within the bills that certain people know what to look for. When they see these fibers, they can tell it's a real bill. If it's not there, it's a fake. What's more, these fibers are different in color depending on the denomination, and they are put in different spots, so that way if someone tries to mimic the $100 fiber on a $20 bill, people who know this security system will know it's a fake. And of course, the new $100 bills that have gone into circulation have a very obvious security strip that has been very hard to mimic for counterfeiters. Ironically though, the $1 does not have these kind of strips. That is likely because it would be foolish to make a lot of counterfeit $1 bills, but some are saying this will change in the future. Number 3. Eye of Providence. Heading back to the $1 bill again, let's look at one of the most unique images on the bill, the so-called Eye of Providence. This symbol alone has caused many conspiracy theories, both out there and yet oddly logical. But why was it put on the bill at all? The main reason is that many of the founding fathers believed in God, and the Eye of Providence is also known as the Eye of God, and its triangle is a reference to the Holy Trinity of God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Going back to the first entry about Latin, there are phrases on the bill that indicate that God himself is watching over America and its people, and thus he approves of what America did to separate from England. There are also those who believe that the symbol on the dollar proves that America is actually run by the Freemasons, of which several founding fathers were confirmed to be a part of the group. One problem, the all-seeing eye was used by the Freemasons after the $1 bill was made. 2. Security stars. As noted earlier, U.S. currency has a ton of ways to protect itself from counterfeiters, but one of them is so deep you could say it reaches the depths of space. Mainly throughout the currency in the world, not just the U.S., you'll find a constellation known as Urian, which is a constellation that is meant to represent the stars of Orion's belt in space, but is also a fusion of it with Euro. But why does this particular constellation find itself on currency all over the world? It's a security system, one that actually prevents people from copying money via printers and various other things. For real, these symbols will be scanned by a printer or other device trying to copy the money, and when it sees or scans the constellation, it'll stop. And that's why you'll find these constellations all over US currency and other nations' currency, because it's a simple yet effective way to ensure that no one copies what they shouldn't. Number 1. Super Eagle. The eagle symbol that is on the $1 bill has been one of the most scrutinized pieces of U.S. currency, and over the years, many people have found various symbols and meanings behind what it is really saying. But in truth, there are various meanings behind its designs, and some of them is very poetic. For example, the shield that is in front of the eagle isn't being held by the bird. Rather, it's just floating there. That was to symbolize that America and its people should be self-sufficient. What's more, the shield has reference to the 13 colonies, as well as the government that helps bind it together. Then, of course, there is the olive branch and the arrows. This is meant to represent war and peace, which America has had a long history with both. Thanks for watching, everyone. What did you think of these mind-blowing facts of U.S. currency? Can you believe the little things and details that make U.S. currency special and unique? How many of these facts did you know before you watched the list? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the channel.